Martiri looping around, has a step, and she has a goal. Her second at a very opportune moment for Clemson.
Just waiting for that final blow to land. Does it come now? It does. Molly Fall's second goal of the year. And Furman finally stops the bleeding.
Passing it off.
Keeping us on our toes, Chris.
Well, what that shows me is she has got mad trust in her teammates.
And the Tigers set onto their offense. Chetnik back for news. She's rewarded for her patience. Close as they've been since the early stages of the second. O'Donnell, she's been quiet today. And a good stop by Lamparter ranging over to her right.
Here's Sophie Shaw. Over for Roser, who scored 4 in the first half. A quieter second. For Beal. Hunting 5, she has 5.
Jimerson gets us back underway. Now New picks up the loose change and scores. A dreary afternoon here at historic Riggs Field for ACC Women's Lacrosse. It's the 22nd ranked Clemson Tigers hosting the Presbyterian Blue Hose. And we welcome you inside the press box here at historic Riggs Field. He's the former national champion, Chris McCartan. I'm Sam Goldfarb. Chris, Clemson fresh off that 23-2 victory over Radford. Another big South foe on deck in Presbyterian today.
Yeah, the Radford game was great for Clemson.
It is an 8-7 Longwood lead after 30 minutes here at Paladin Stadium. The Lancers looking to get Big South playoff on the right foot. And we welcome you inside the press box here at Paladin Stadium. He's Brian Adkins. I'm Sam Goldfarb. Brian, a game of runs and a game with a hat trick on either side in the form of Sophia Pass and Megan Beal.
Yeah, we're seeing offensive dominance by a couple of these players.
She can do it all.
She can do it all. The junior for Baltimore, Maryland, had 2 assists on Saturday. She's got her first goal today. And the Tigers off to yet another quick start. You've got to wonder, that must calm the nerves, right? On Saturday, you've come in with all this pent-up energy. You scored twice in the opening 77 seconds. A similar story here. You see the box score on your screen. 9 unanswered to open the first quarter for Clemson. Gianna New and Hannah Hillcoff, 5 goals a pop. But like you said, it wasn't just those two who contributed for the Tigers.
And I think it was about 15 or 16 of those goals were assisted. It lets me know that they are getting everybody else involved.
Here's some stats comparisons, both offensive and defensive. Clemson with the advantage in almost every major statistical category entering today.
And I talked about it earlier. It sounded like I was throwing shade that, well, you play against some sisters of the poor, and the next thing you know, your stats look a lot better than they were. Also, look at the way Clemson's been playing later in the season against better opponents. They're still putting up numbers.
Double digits against ACC opponents on the regular. Put 10 past the #1 team in the nation in Syracuse, 16 on Saturday as well. As we head back to the draw. And Little with yet another control.
What I really like about her game, she understands who's on the circle. She understands where she is more athletic and less athletic than her opponent. And she's got everything in the arsenal. She can draw the ball out to a teammate that might be better situated. She's also great at understanding, you know what, I got this lady across from me. Let me put this thing to space and go get a GB.
Hillcoff already with 1 today, finds Tilson.
You know, this is my spot.
Draws a couple. Only 1 goal in her last 4 after a really hot start to the season. Still grappling with the impacts of some of those double teams from the opposite side.
And like you and I spoke about at lunch when we were kind of working up our analysis, it is not easy to be a lefty downhill dodger because you think about your status quo defender is a righty. Just think about logistically where her stick is, where her strong arm is. They're taking away your strong side. She's going to have to get a lot more creative than most.
Maloney in the ride, and Johnson scoops it up off the deck. And I tell you what, you can't afford costly errors in the clear game if you're Pitt.
No, and especially against this team. The ladies in white and orange, They ride. Sometimes I forget who the attack people are and who the middies are, because everybody is so athletic and everybody runs at least 2/3 of the field.
And you mentioned the deference to Clemson with 5 defenders for Pitt. 5 really quality defenders as well, who've really led this program. Just in their second season, they were in Clemson shoes a year ago, put together a 9-10 campaign. There's a spin and a finish. And that's Sophia Chepnik with her first game back.
And I want to call that her bread and butter. Here's the caveat. She's not typecast. She can do it all. That is your consummate question mark dodge. And if you think about the way a question mark looks, you're coming from goal line extended or a little bit below, drive above goal line extended, roll away from the crease, switch to your offhand, and even though it shortens your angle a little bit, when you can snipe the way Chepnik can, candy from a baby.
Chepnik's 31st of the season. Clemson off to a 4-0 start. And heading into the year, that X position was a question mark for Clemson. They lost their primary X option. Chepnik, obviously just a freshman, has filled that void really impressively and is no doubt going to be on the ACC All-Freshman team when they name those teams next week.
And even talk about the fact that there wasn't double there. That's because she can feed. They can't just swarm her and say, you know what, she puts her head down and goes to the hoop and she doesn't even think about her teammates. No, think about the first goal, how that was scored. She found Gianna New in traffic. And I will tell you, Van Middelum, the goalie for Pitt, she held the pipe. I think Chepnik is cerebral enough to also understand it's not just about athleticism. I've got 5 or 6 inches on this goalie. If I shoot over the top, I'm going to hit the back of the cage.
Chepnik stands around 5'10". So good size for an attacker. Little with yet another draw. Clemson has slowly established residence there. Coming into the day, Coach Kwolik said the draw was going to be a point of emphasis because even though Pitt's been up and down there, they're very gritty. So far, so good for Clemson.
And I think you were the one that told me that during their game against Virginia, yeah, Pitt didn't come out with a W, but there was a good portion of that game where they actually controlled the draw circle.
They also led that game around the midway point of the third quarter. Since then, they've struggled a bit, been outscored 50-11 in their last 3 contests.
Now, I spoke to Coach Gebhardt, who's the assistant for the ladies in blue. And I asked him, you know, where are we from a morale standpoint? The last few games have been a little bit uglier than the rest of the season. He said there is not a drop in morale. Sometimes things just aren't going right, but every one of these girls would run through a wall for each other. They are out here to win. They believe they can win, and they are all heavy recruited players. So they're very talented athletes.
Free position look coming from Marina Miller from the outside hash. There's the step, bounces it wide. Backup goes to Pitt.
That is a good call. It's trigonometry. I know there's some people standing on the end line, but we are talking about who is closest to the ball, not the end line when that shot goes out of bounds.
If I'm not mistaken, you're a huge fan of Marina Miller's game.
Absolutely. The silent assassin doesn't necessarily show up in the stat line wherever. She doesn't hear her song played all the time, but from restraining line to restraining line, she is an absolute grinder.
20 goals as well, so not shabby at all.
No, absolutely, and I'm not taking anything. I'm just saying that all the stuff that nobody else wants to do, all the stuff that might not be too pretty, all the stuff that basically constitutes putting in the extra work, that's your lady to do it.
Delana Williams with her first touch. Her brother, Dyson, for Duke, both Canadians. Heavy Canadian contingent on this Pitt roster. There's the dodge inside from O'Donnell. Have not seen much from her yet. And back to Williams at the point of attack. Working on McCardle. Pitt taking their time once more. The look inside, and Lamparter equal to it.
All right, so I've gone back and forth as to what I think makes Lamparter the goalie that she is. There's been times that I've thought that she is just the consummate baiter, meaning show me part of the goal and I'm going to take it away from you. More like a mind game. Right there, that was all hand speed. All hand speed. She found the ball and took it out of the air.
Lamparter fresh off her third double-digit save game of the season on Saturday. Made 11 stops. That was a back-and-forth contest. Clemson had an 11-8 lead. They were pegged back at 12 even before reeling off the final 4 goals of the contest. Jimerson from X. Now Tilson. Clemson taking their time, and they're settled once more. And Hillcoff draws the whistle.
And you know how I feel about Tilson running downhill. That's my favorite Dodger on the squad. Probably would have liked Martiri to get out of the way. I think she was almost picking for the ball.
New off the feed. She's got a hat trick.
Unselfish. Every other player in America would see 36 square feet. But instead, I believe that was Jimerson, saw the fastest player on the field, break to the hoop. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that Jimerson or Hillcoff?
It was Hillcoff.
Okay, it was Hillcoff. Somebody who knows how to put the ball in the back of the goal in her own right. Finds her teammate, though.
New with yet another first quarter hat trick. This seems to be commonplace at Riggs Field. Back-to-back hat tricks for the Clemson Star.